Now tonight, our final stop will be destined for the capital of Alberta, in Edmonton. And although we are still a few hours away, this is the best day on board the train for one reason, and one reason only. It's prime rib night. But the dining cars themselves actually have a really cool story. Every one of the dining cars on the Canadian consist are named after the Canadian Pacific Railway hotels. From the Palliser dining car named after the Palliser Hotel in Calgary, to the York Diner named after the Royal York in Toronto. All of these hotels existed because of early rail travel not allowing for heavy dining cars. The reason being that the steep grades in the Rockies made them a major liability, but that all changed in the early 1900s when the spiral tunnels were complete, reducing the grade down the big hill outside of Field, BC from 4% back down to a reasonable 2%, making dining cars in the Rockies a reality. And today, the chefs produce everything in this tiny kitchen, and Chef was actually nice enough to allow me into his kitchen, which is, let's be honest, it's basically a closet with a stove, obviously no deep fryer or grills for safety reasons, so everything cooks on a burner or in the oven. And absolute respect to the chefs for being able to produce food at the level in which they do, despite how tiny and restricting this kitchen could be. After polishing off one last dessert and that one last cup of coffee, that would draw dinner to an end, where shortly after we would pull into Edmonton for a midnight arrival. So this morning, we rolled into a beautiful sunrise breaking over the Saskatchewan prairies. At least, that's what I thought, because this actually isn't the prairies. We're still in the foothills of Alberta. Last night, leaving Edmonton, we hit quite a bit of heavy freight traffic, and if you didn't know, in Canada, freight traffic reigns supreme, and passengers, not so much. Now, my dad worked for the Canadian Pacific once upon a time, and he always used to say the only time the passenger train was on time was when it was 24 hours late. And considering that a couple of other recent eastbound departures of the Canadian would finish 12, 22, and 16 hours late before our trip, the fact that we're only 8 hours behind schedule, although not great news for our reservation at the Fort Garry Hotel in Winnipeg later tonight, well, I guess we'll cross that track when we get there.
My mother once told me that bad news was just good news in disguise.
Was this before she abandoned you?
Yes, it was.
We would spend all morning racing past grain elevators, pushing past potash mines, which are actually Saskatoon's top export, for those wondering. And by late afternoon, we'd begin rolling past increasing freight traffic, which, although it might scare you from what I just told you about our delays from last night, but this is good news, because that means that we are slowly approaching the Canadian National Freight Yard that is located just outside Saskatoon, which, interestingly enough, is where our station is located. This was a clip for a full-length show. If you want to watch the full episode of the clip you just saw, click right here, you get the full show, and they go up live every single Sunday. If you want more clips of what you just saw, click right here, you can see the next great hit.